What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's pandemic update video for Thursday, April 6th, 2023. Starting off here on my website, we do have a couple notes to tell you about. In the COVID positive section, I added a new tracker, and this is the COVID in the MLB, where you'll be able to track all the cases that pop up in the MLB. I will update it as often as I find a new case. It may end up being daily. I mean, already it's daily. I started it yesterday, and I just added another one today. But as often as I find a case, I'm going to be adding it in here. And we might start doing this for a few other things as well that, require me doing a tracking. This is a list for the 2023 season. Obviously, next year we'll start another list, but here you go. Update as of April 6, 2023, which is today. I'll always put when I last updated it, and at times I might even have to put the time of day that it's updated if we see multiple cases. But here we go. The first one is a Matt Cutero, manager of the Kansas City Royals, tested positive on April 5th. That was yesterday. And today, Dick Vermeer, who is the Minnesota Twins play-by-play announcer, he tested positive for COVID today. So he will not be calling the home opener game of the Minnesota Twins. And that's all we have for the website for today. We do have this, which I did not add to the website yet. I literally just found this before my starting of this video. And more than 24 Pines residents test positive for COVID. Pines is a residency nursing home in New York State. It's in south central New York State, just like west of the Binghamton area, somewhere out that way. And it does say here, 6 employees have been diagnosed with COVID-19 since March 27th, so I'm assuming the rest of them are all residents. So it says 24 residents, and yeah, on top of that, you would add 6 employees, so 30 people total. And yeah, this is not good. And it does say here, listen to this, none of the residents have symptoms serious enough to require hospitalization, so that's some good news, but again, anytime we're seeing an outbreak, it's bad. And it's especially bad because New York State's numbers overall has been low, but yet there's been able to be an outbreak. And it just shows you how much one case can cause a whole slew of cases. And that's probably how this one came to be. So it just shows you really need to be cautious. All right, then we come to this. India. India's bad. Another 5,335 cases. And now I saw today someone say, well, let's take a look at this chart for India. It's not really rising much compared to other cases. Well, hello. Let me tell you something. Here's what's happened since those other waves. Testing has gone way down. And yeah, when you keep dropping testing, guess what? If you don't test, you can't find the cases. And there's people walking around sick. And guess what else we see a lot of? There's been a lot of celebrities that I've been reporting on the past 2 to 3 weeks that are testing positive out of India. These are people that get tested more frequently than the average person, which indicates that the average person, the general population, the public, there's probably a lot more than 5,335 cases. It's probably somewhere north of 20,000 cases right now a day. And here's the other thing. 5,335 is a lot of cases compared to the fact that they were well below 1,000 cases just a few weeks ago. So it's continuing to go up. Do we know how high it's going to go? No, we don't know when India is going to peak, but at right now, India is rapidly rising because the previous update we saw was just around 3,000 cases. So yeah, that's a significant increase in just a couple days. And these are 5,335 new cases on top of the other ones that we saw a few days ago. All right, then we have this. Today in COVID history. Hundreds of doctors and civil rights groups urged the CDC and the U.S. government to release race ethnicity data on COVID-19 case numbers in order to reveal the true impact of the virus on communities of colors. And that was on April 6th and 2020 that happened. Taking a look at the latest CDC wastewater map, kind of some mixed news here. Some places did come back and are not gray anymore, but there's still a lot of gray on here. And that would be New York State, and it's relatively confusing to me. There's a lot of low to, or I should say near moderate sites on here, which does not go with what we're seeing on the data. New York State cases, for the most part this week, the majority of the days, have been below 1,000. But here we are. We're seeing wastewater sites. And if we zoom this in, there is something I want to show to you. That nursing home I was telling you about, it's right around in here. This is south central New York State. It's right in this area, and if you look here, the lighter blue on the color codes does indicate 40 to 59%. So, yeah, you could say that's moderate transmission. And it is saying here that it's dropping, but, oh, here's one that's rising. So, yeah, it's kind of a mixed picture out of New York State. And you'll see that going forward when we take a look at the New York State data for today. Maine, you're now back to 3 moderate areas. You have 3 orange ones. Nebraska, you still are just moderate to high, and you have been for as long as we've been looking at wastewater. California, I wish all the sites were reporting. They're not. Missouri, similar deal. Florida is still low to near moderate, and going back to New York again, there is some good news. New York City is still relatively low. And the Great Lakes region, generally low to moderate. There's much less in the way of high transmission sites than we saw a few weeks ago. But, hey, we got to watch what happens here because we all know Easter is this weekend. We're definitely going to see a rise. All right, take a look at the community transmission map. We did get an update today out of this, and I suspect that's because tomorrow's Good Friday. But the bad thing about that is, well, let's just go through this first. 888 counties are in high transmission. Substantial is at 581. Both of those numbers are down. Moderate is at 1,268. Low is at 485. Here's the part that's bad. They updated this today because tomorrow's Good Friday. No update out of the variant proportions. I don't know if we're going to actually get one tomorrow. And a disclaimer, from after today through, we'll say Monday, maybe even Tuesday, very limited data is going to be coming in. But we should still get some data. I think we'll at least get Walgreens data this weekend. And of course, we'll find some news stories and some COVID positives. We're reporting all weekend. I'm doing videos through the weekend. So I am not stopping because it's a holiday, because the pandemic does not stop. So if you're new to the channel, subscribe down below and you'll be prepared for those videos this weekend. Alright, the latest variant proportions. XBB15, 87.9. XBB191, 4.6. XBB, 2.5%. XBB151 is at 2.1%, and BQ 1.1 is at 1.9%. Taking a look at some B&O news here. And we did learn this today. All remaining COVID-19 measures in Germany will end on Friday night. That's right. And look at this. Here's a disclaimer. They say, we have successfully overcome the pandemic, the health minister says. Oh, really? That's why people are still dying around the world, getting COVID, getting long COVID? Please don't tell me that your pandemic's over. It's not over. All right, U.S. COVID update from B&O yesterday. New cases, 57,980. The average is 21,524. That is down by 480. As expected, 25 states reported yesterday. Wednesday usually sees a high number of weekly reportings. Hospitalizations, 18,042. That's actually up by 328. Never good to see a rise, but expected on a Wednesday. In the ICU, 2,386, and that's down by 23. So these are yesterday's numbers, which was Wednesday, and it was a rise on the hospitalizations. That's not terrible, but the key thing is if we were to see a drop on a Wednesday, which we haven't in many months, but if we were to, that would be the signal of a massive, massive drop. But we're seeing a rise, and I suspect next week we're going to see a bigger rise again because of Easter. New deaths yesterday, 933. The average is 322, and that is up by 46. So that's concerning. That's not good. Central Pennsylvania, Center County. Only one hospital in this county, but we track it because it's the bellwether for what's going on in Central Pennsylvania. And only 5 hospitalizations there, so it's continuing to drop. This is some good news, and I told you I would show you the bed capacity from there, and I do have that now. And the good news is their bed capacity has come way back. And let me pull that back up. It looks like the page refreshed on me. But this is some really good news. Last week, the number was 0, and I showed that to you yesterday. They now have 17 adult beds available. Yeah, that's only 10% of their beds, but hey, it's much better than 0, which they had last week. All right, New York State numbers. Here's the latest numbers out of New York State. 996 new cases. That's below 1,000. We like any day below 1,000. Test positivity rate, it's dropping, 1.5%. That's below the 7-day average of 1.6%. New York State hospitalizations, here you go. Today's hospitalizations, 980, 108 people in the ICU. That's not terrible. We like this number below 1,000 as well. Alrighty, Walgreens data. Not going to spend a lot of time on this because this is something we'll probably spend way too much time on this weekend due to the lack of data. But the national positivity rate, good news. It's actually down a little bit. 24.1% today, 24.9% last week at this time. And that's down by 0.7%. Also, take a look at this. Testing is down with that, so having the both down at the same time, that's not a terrible thing, but we do want to see testing go up. I mean, obviously, the ultimate goal is to get higher testing. Will it ever happen? I don't know. Take a look at Maine. Maine's dropping now, 36.8%. Last week at this time was 32.3%. I mean, it's still 4.6% higher, but as you know, Maine was just at 45% recently. Take a look at Rhode Island, 20.3%. It's a difference of 5.8% over last week's 14.4%. Connecticut continues to rise, 13.5%. The previous week being 10.7% and a difference of 2.8%. Pennsylvania, my state, yikes. Yeah, look at this chart. Straight up, 22.9% this week. Prior week, 13.3%, a difference of up 9.6%. There were 188 tests last week. Or, excuse me, there were 256 tests last week, 188 this week. I think it's a combination of just rising cases and a lack of testing. And it's just not good news. Let's take a look at West Virginia. 23.8% this week, 9.5% increase over last week, which was 14.3% at this time. And let's take a look at Oklahoma. 31.6% this week, 18.2% last week. That's a 13.3% increase. Not good. And we will end it on Texas. Taking a look at Texas. Slight increase, 26.4%. Prior week was 25.8%. That is up by a mere 0.6%. Let's take a look at some international data. And again, we won't spend too much time on this as well, but there are some places that we do want to look at, and that is South Korea is now up by 3% on cases, down 12% on deaths. Singapore, what is going on here? Suddenly you are rapidly starting to rise. 96% increase on cases, 100% increase on deaths. That's because they have 0 deaths this week, 5 last week. But look at the cases here. 28,410 this week, 14,467 last week. India still being a big increase, is up 99% this week on cases, 46% increase on deaths. Mexico, 26% increase on cases now, 7% decrease on deaths. And then we come down here, we do have a whole bunch more places dropping. New Zealand's dropping again, down 24% on cases, and also down 70% on deaths. And finally, we will end today on Iran, down 7% on cases and 5% on deaths. Alrighty, that does it for today's pandemic update. We'll have another one again tomorrow, and as stated, we'll have pandemic updates throughout the holiday weekend. Alright, thanks for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button down below, and I'll see you all again next time. Stay safe, everyone.